into Courtside Chats with AJ McCord. We are getting ready for round 2 of the Blazers postseason series. This one tipping off against the Nuggets in just about an hour and 15 minutes here in the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. It's going to be a great game for you. I've got some great guests lined up for you today that I am very excited about. So first things first, let's talk about this matchup, right? For the second straight series, the Blazers are going to be playing a team that got the better of them in the regular season. Obviously, Oklahoma City swept them in the regular season. Blazers took care of them in 5. Now the Nuggets 3-1 against Portland during the regular season, but the Blazers thinking they can reverse that trend tonight. And here is how they say they can do it.
It sounds pretty simple, but as you get into a 7-game series, it's less and less about adjustment and more and more about, you know, teams playing well, players playing well.
One series goes longer, your series ends early, and now you got 4 or 5 days of a break. So I think we all just ready to play. You know, we've been waiting around, not knowing that we were going to play. Now we know we're here, and you know it's time to play.
The games are different. The timing is different. There's no back-to-backs. You only have to play one team, so just completely your focus. There's nothing else to worry about.
Okay, I'm so excited. We have Brooke Olzendam here, the queen of Rip City.
Oh, you're sweet.
So you just got off Facebook. You're just busy.
Girl, 1 hour Facebook Live,
Oh my goodness.
Jay Allen named Facebook Live. We're not sure if we're sticking with it. It might be a little obnoxious.
I think we're sticking.
You think so?
Yeah,
okay,
Facebook.
I appreciate that. If you think it's cool, then I think it's cool. But yeah, it was great that we had a lot of guests. You need to come on it next game. I know
twist my arm.
I wasn't sure how busy you were with this, so I didn't want to bother you. But yeah, it was good. We had Neil Olshey, we had Dame, we had Coach Stotts.
There you go.
Yeah,
I mean, those are like great guests and everything, but we have you.
Oh, you're so cute.
I'm actually pretty stoked about this.
I like her.
I like you too. So we'll stick around, keep you around for a little. Let's talk about this game, right? So Oklahoma City obviously got the better of Portland in the regular season. They figured out how to reverse it in the postseason.
Right.
Denver could be a similar story. How do they do that again? Well,
it's interesting. Yesterday at practice, and you were there with me, and today at shoot-around, they were asked, a lot of the guys were asked about that, and they said it's very valuable to have, obviously, post-game or postseason experience. Blazers have a lot of that, and they didn't seem to put a lot of emphasis on what happened during the regular season. They said that was the regular season. Now, in postseason is a whole new ball game. So I think you look at film. I mean, obviously you do that. You see tendencies in the team you're playing, but in postseason, it's a different animal. And I think that the Blazers are very focused on that. We talked about that too. Just focused on winning ball games, business-like, you know, the approach to everything. So it's going to be interesting. I do think the postseason experience will really play a role in this. So yes, they might have got them in the regular season, but the Blazers have this postseason thing down. They weren't happy with the way it went down last year, and this year, dialed in, locked in, was what I keep saying about this group, led by Dame and CJ.
And I think that really does play a key because they kept talking about, I think this team thrives in the postseason because they can hone in on one team and take advantage. And when Damian Lillard has that much time to pick apart an opponent, I just don't think it's going to go well.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And it's funny because, the postseason is just a tricky thing because you look for tendencies like we just talked about. You look for schemes and you see the same team over and over and over again. So you can make adjustments, but you kind of got to make them quick. You got to make them on the fly. I will say that these two teams, I was just talking with Neil Olshey about it, kind of similar in the way they approach each other. There's a lot of respect here. I wouldn't say that about round 1. I think that you would agree with me on that one too. So it will be it'll be interesting, but I think that this is a good matchup. The guys are really looking forward to kind of showing that this is a different team this postseason than last season and perhaps the year before. So they're locked in, they're dialed in, and I can't wait for it. I'm excited.
I can't wait. I just feel like this next hour needs to go very, very fast so we can get to the actual game. One of the other things we know, this team loves that three-point shot, and Damian Lillard obviously put the world on notice of how far he can shoot that. But the Nuggets did a really good job in the regular season of holding that three-point percentage down. So how do the Blazers loosen things up early?
Well, I think it's good looking to round 1, how they shot the ball. The best round 1 team in terms of three-point percentage, I believe, is a little over 40%. So you'd like to think they're in a rhythm. You know, obviously there's been some time off, so but you like to think they're just going to continue that. Like, you know, they remember. But yeah, I think defending the 3 will be key tonight, and it makes me feel positive that the fact that they already have one series under their belt where that was key and really won some ball games for them. You mentioned Logo Lillard. Well, you know, Jamal Murray has been shooting a lot of those as well too, and takes pride in shooting I would say as deep, I don't think he takes as many. I'm positive he doesn't take as many as Steve. And not as accurate. But, so maybe we'll see him from both sides tonight. But I will say, and we talked about earlier, just the respect that Jamal has for Dame.
Yes.
And that he...
As a person,
yes. Not just a player, but as a person. So I don't think we'll see all the antics like we did in round one, because these guys actually really like each other. Yeah. So depending on how you like your series, if you like them physical, a little chatty, this one I think will be much different than the last one.
Yes, I think
in a good way.
Sure. Absolutely. Now, of course, ENES KANTER was just out here a second ago getting shots up. We are officially still on questionable. Right,
still questionable,
okay.
Yep, still questionable.
Officially questionable, but we were at shoot-around this morning, and we asked Dave and CJ about it. I would say, you take a listen. Tell me if they think he's questionable.
No, ENES will be all right. Yeah, we're not worried about him. He's a tough guy. He'll do what it takes to get out there.
I would assume so. I haven't heard anything other than that. Y'all hear something else?
That has been like from team mindset that ENES will go.
I didn't know it was a question.
Okay, that's good.
I did.
Hey, some players stay in the league for 14, 15 years and don't even make the playoffs. So it's a huge opportunity and a blessing to be here in this position, especially in my situation. I was in the worst team in the league. Now I'm starting, just a conference semifinals. So I think just for me to just be here is a blessing, definitely. So just for me, I would love to play, but it's the trainer's decision.
So after hearing all that, I'm pretty sure we're going to see ENES KANTER tonight.
It's just so funny. Those guys, I mean, like us, like the media, right? We're like, we talk about everything. What did you hear? What did you hear? Well, he's questionable, all this stuff. The guys, like we just mentioned, are so locked in. They're like, they looked at us like we had two heads. We're like, what? He's playing. He's playing. So, you gotta think that you can trust those two.
Right.
I will say, ENES, I mean, gosh, that guy was a warrior in Game 5. I mean, he's got the hip, he's got the hand, the wrist, he's got the shoulder. So he looked, and he seemed like he was in some pain. And he talked about it. He said, putting on a shirt is tough. Sleeping.
Yeah,
so can you imagine? Sleeping is difficult for you. Putting on a shirt, but then you have to go out and defend NIKOLA JOKIC.
I know. Who's like one of the most physical players that they've seen this year.
So it's going to be, I really feel like touch and go isn't the right word or phrase, but if they decide that he's going and he wants to, he's very passionate about it, he wants to, then it'll just be kind of gauging. I think we'll see what kind of ENES KANTER we have tonight, and maybe the first couple minutes, just the way he looks for a shot, or maybe he changes a little bit, adjusting because of his shoulder.
No left-handers, I don't think.
I know, but you just found out he had a left hand, which is so funny. So it'll be interesting. I think we'll kind of get a feel for it early. But you know what, Coach Stotts told me in Facebook Live. Facebook Live. That, if that happens, if ENES isn't 100%, if he doesn't go, or if he does go and just isn't feeling it, it's not feeling like he can go, or at least give 100%. He said then we go with Zach Collins, we go with Myers-Leonard. And Zach, as you know, is a rim protector. That's like what he takes a lot of pride in. Fierce rim protector. So that could work in the Blazers' favor in terms of defending Jokic. Myers, bangs, he gets down there. He's a huge body. Hammer time. So, of course, ENES is, he's really found his place with the starting lineup. So you don't want to see that altered too much. But if he can't go or he needs some time to rest, he's just not feeling like himself, they're very solid options.
Yes, and so the Zach Collins and Myers-Leonard averaged about 23 minutes a game through the first series combined. So what have you seen from them in this postseason that gives you confidence that they can go against the Joker?
Yeah, well, confidence is what I've seen. It's funny. Zach, we talked a lot about the key word with Zach is energy.
Yes.
So when he goes out there, that's what he wants to bring. Whether he's on the score, whether his stat sheet shows anything, he wants to bring the intangible of energy, which he's very good at doing. We talked about his defense, and oftentimes he will get into his offense by being active defensively. So he'll get a block that pumps him up, and then he wants the ball down low to post up the next time down, because you've seen him, like something changes with Zach, which I love.
When he gets going, he's like, oh, I know I can do this now.
And his eyes, even just kind of like, you saw when it was earlier this season that it kind of went viral where he was so mad about foul trouble, he went and sat on the bench, and CJ was like, "See, come back down, Zen." So he's got like the eye of the tiger. I mean, that sounds kind of silly and cliche, but he really does. Like, he just has that, and he's such a young guy, but he's got an old soul in terms of if he goes out there, he's ready, he wants to contribute right away, and he wants to bring that energy. And Myers, you got to give it to Myers. I mean, you got to give him some serious credit. There have been games, streaks of games in which he did not play at all.
Right.
And he just continued to say, I just got to stay ready, stay ready. And you hear that a lot, But you really, I've seen it with him, is that the second his number is called, he's out there, he's setting solid screens, he's looking for the ball, he's shooting the three, which, you know, his teammates want him to do, and he got a little grief of that for the beginning of the season. They shoot the ball, and you have it. So I think that those guys will be ready, and that's kind of the mantra of really the team in general, but especially with Zach and especially with Myers after ENES was brought in. Guys, you've been playing great. Just stay ready, and when the team needs you, you just got to come out and bring the energy.
And it's been so crucial. I mean, ever since Nurk went down, Next Man Up has really taken on an entirely different meaning.
Absolutely.
So we talked a lot about the respect between these two teams, and we're going to hear from the Nuggets now about how much they do respect Damian Lillard and the shots he can put up. So, Brooke, thank you for joining us.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Of course, let's hear from the Nuggets.
Of course, Damian Lillard, because he's playing on like superstar level right now. And I think it's not just him for real. They have CJ, they have ENES. Is he playing? I don't know. They have Rodney who hurt us, Amin who hurt us. So, Kyrie, so Dame is a really big part of their success, but I think they have really good guys. They're coming with him.
How high would you go? I mean, I'm staying at the logo, so if he's pulling from there, I'm just shake his hand, man. That's it.
They've gotten away from some of their movement stuff. You know, when you play them in regular season, a lot of continuity. But he's getting 32 screen and rolls per game in the playoffs. That is a very, very high number. And obviously, you know, he gave OKC fits in the high pick and roll, the step up, the side pick and roll. So you have to give him different looks. The fact that he's made, I think, 8 threes outside of 30 feet in the playoffs is just kind of mind-boggling. We all saw that game winner from, I don't know, 38 feet, whatever it was. You know, and his isolations have gone up. So the ball's in his hands. You know, right now they are a one-on-one team. What I mean by that is I think they're last in the playoffs in assists. So the ball's in Dame's hands, CJ's hands, and those guys are looking to score, and they're doing it very, very well. So we're going to have our hands full trying to guard that backcourt, one of the more talented backcourts in the entire NBA.
They certainly are one of the more talented backcourts in the NBA, but we are bringing some talent to the show right now. This is Romi Bean. She is from our CBS affiliate in Denver, covered the Nuggets all season. So we were just talking about Mike Malone. He throws out these stats at you. How have you been impressed with him this season and how he's coached this team to the playoffs?
Oh man, I gotta say, Michael Malone is the reason this team is here where they are now. He has been truly unbelievable. Here, there's definitely a bias for, you know, Coach of the Year, but what he has done with this young team and the way he coaches his players, he knows so well how to handle. You know, the biggest thing was that when he brought Isaiah Thomas in, when he decided to bench Isaiah Thomas, that was really when everyone kind of realized, wow, this guy's for real. I mean, that's not an easy conversation to have, and he's just all for the team, and he just knows how to relate to his players, especially them being so young and living in this moment, and they wouldn't be here without Malone. He's pretty unbelievable.
And Isaiah Thomas isn't the only one who's been moved to the bench under this Malone era. Will Barton just got put there in this series against the Spurs. But Denver's bench unit is averaging 28.8 points in this postseason. The Blazers averaging just about 18. So what's been the key to the Nuggets bench production?
The Nuggets bench kind of has been their key all year, and Malone has said all year, we think our depth is how we can get far because we wear teams down. And you didn't expect Malik Beasley and Monte Morris to just be as good as they are. Nobody saw this coming. So the production from the bench unit has been through the roof. The other thing is the Nuggets were hurt for most of the year. The starting unit was hurt for most of the year, so a lot of these guys got a lot more practice time than a bench unit typically would. But with Barton, it was interesting because he was really struggling, and it again came the question, what's going to happen? And for Malone to pull him in a playoff game, he put in Torrey Craig, who was in the G League last year, got his first playoff start in the Spurs series, and he's been unbelievable, and he's likely going to be back in there again today because Barton's kind of having a little slump, bad time to be slumping.
Yeah, not ideal for the Nuggets, but hopefully something Portland can take advantage of. The other thing we talk so much about with this Nuggets team is second youngest in the NBA, and yet they don't look it. They certainly didn't look in the regular season. Everyone was worried about how it would show up in the postseason. They just took the Spurs to 7 games and beat Greg Popovich, who I'm pretty sure hasn't missed the playoffs in my lifetime. I think he's actually 22 years. I'm older than that, but it's pretty darn close. So how have you seen this team grow in their postseason experience, and how much confidence does it give them going into round 2?
You know what's interesting is I think because we were looking at them under a microscope. You could tell they were young to us. In the first round, they lost their first home playoff game. Then they came back and won their home playoff game. Then they lost their first road playoff game. They came back and won. Then they had a chance to close it out. They lost it. They came back. They did it in Game 7. So there are learning curves for them. But, you know, Michael Malone has always said all year, we can't use it as an excuse. Right. And also, in some ways, you know, ignorance can be bliss. You don't know what you don't know, so they haven't been to this big stage before. Yeah. So there's things that they don't know about the pressure, and they did great in round 1. Round 2, it's a bigger stage, though. So I think we will see some of that youth. We'll see, though, if, you know, hopefully Portland doesn't take too much advantage of it.
There you go. It's certainly going to be a great series. These two teams have so much respect for each other. And from Portland's perspective, we just watched a very chippy series with Oklahoma City where the respect didn't seem to be there as much, but it's been really fun hearing Jamal Murray and Malone and Terry Stotts just talk about respect between these opponents, and I am expecting a fantastic series.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I still can't stop thinking about that Dame Lillard shot. I'm sure
you're not alone.
It's unbelievable. I watched that 9 million times. But there really is, and that's one thing that I think Malone really preaches is for these guys, they are humble. Yep. They all know this is the first time we've been in the playoffs. They don't really have any room to be cocky. They're confident, but not cocky. And I think it's a good balance, and a lot of that gives credit to Malone.
Yeah, and that's a big distinction, cocky versus confident. So two very confident teams, two very well-prepared teams for this one. So thank you so much for joining us. Dame talked earlier today about what they've got to change from the regular season to this postseason if they want to change the results against the Nuggets. Here he is.
Now, I know the playoffs are a totally different animal than the regular season, but you have played these guys a couple times. What are some things you'd like to improve between your regular season games with them and this playoff series?
I think our spacing offensively, the pace that we run our stuff, and then just defensively, just being sharper for longer periods of time. You know, it seems like every time we play them, we'll have like good stretches, but we never just play a complete game against them, and that's always what comes out to hurt us in the end. So just play a complete game, be sharper, have that same mentality that we had in the first round, just sharp mentally, physical game, just knowing what's going on the entire time. So I think if we do that, we'll have a pretty good chance.
Locked in, focused, and all business is what got Portland through the first round, and it's what they're hoping is going to carry them through this second round against a Denver Nuggets team that is riding high after winning their first playoff series in quite some time. So it's going to be a fantastic series. I'm super stoked to be along for the ride. Remember, you can always join us on Courtside Chats an hour before the game. We are about 40 minutes away from tip-off here in the Mile High City. We'll have reaction for you on Coin 6 News at 11, and of course, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all the behind the scenes you could possibly want. Thank you for joining us on Courtside Chats. Enjoy the game.